Hello, this is Shuziai Nishi. I will give you an update from the field on the political situation in South Korea. An arrest warrant has now been issued for President Yoon Suk Yeol, who dug his own grave by declaring emergency martial law and plotting a coup. Most citizens, from elementary and middle school students to the elderly, are increasingly criticizing Yoon himself and the ruling party lawmakers who abstained from voting on the opposition party's impeachment motion in the National Assembly. In South Korea, you can read Japanese reports online and check the reactions to them on social media. Looking at them, you can see that the Japanese media is trying to belittle the situation in the country, or is only looking at this incident from a 20th century perspective, such as the conflict between the ruling and opposition parties and the impact on the Korean economy. In even worse cases, there are strange discourses that try to defend Yoon's declaration of emergency martial law, ignoring its reactionary and undemocratic censorship of speech. Such discourse shows the immaturity of one's own democratic spirit and lack of awareness about it, and is embarrassing for me as a fellow Japanese. Regardless of ideological positions, it is clear that President Yoon's actions on the 3rd of this month were an extreme abuse of power. The citizens' rejection of these actions is a defense of democracy that goes beyond ideological positions. The citizens were not mobilized to participate in the demonstrations by any political forces, including the opposition party. The first thing I would like to point out is that the Korean people's criticism of President Yoon had been growing even before the attempted coup, regardless of the conflict between the ruling and opposition parties or their political and ideological positions. The public's criticism was based on various facts that cast doubt on Yoon's qualifications as a leader of a country, such as the suspicion that the First Lady accepted a luxury brand bag as a bribe and her tax evasion charges, as well as allegations that President Yoon interfered in personnel affairs at the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office to prevent a prosecution investigation into these charges, and the harsh prison sentence given to an officer in charge of the accidental death of a Marine. In fact, in the anti-Yoon administration demonstrations by the opposition party and ordinary citizens that I have observed in Seoul since early November, I have hardly felt any ideological conflict at all. The content of the demonstrations themselves is legal and standard, such as chants and original songs calling for the president's resignation, appearances by actors and singers, and marches with candles, stick lights, flags and placards, which are seen in any citizen demonstration. The demonstrations lasted about 2 to 3 hours, and were conducted orderly and peacefully, with singers singing a song during breaks for media photo shoots. Moreover, large-scale demonstrations involving tens of thousands of citizens from all over the country were limited to weekends, so I do not think they had any impact on economic activity. Also, as far as I know, there have been no casualties among either the demonstrators or the police. At the demonstration held on Saturday, November 30th, a female tourist who appeared to be of Southeast Asian descent in Myeongdong was seen on an online video, looking surprised and delighted by the demonstration. It was a fun and eventful demonstration that mixed nostalgic folk songs, original songs, and traditional folk music. However, large-scale demonstrations are currently taking place in front of the Parliament building and the ruling party's headquarters not only on weekends but also on weekdays, and economic activity is being affected, with even stores in the suburbs having to shorten their business hours. This is clearly due to the shock of the anachronistic and foolish declaration of emergency law and the attempted coup involving the military. The expansion of the demonstrations, which now include junior high school students, is a pure expression of rejection of the current government by ordinary citizens, different in nature from support for the left-wing largest opposition party, the Democratic Party of Korea. Moreover, it was President Yoon himself who triggered the intensification of the demonstrations. For Korean citizens, the attempted coup from the night of the 3rd to the early morning of the 4th of this month was reminiscent of the military coup d'état of Chun Doo-hwan 45 years ago in 1979 and the suppression of the democratization movement in the following year of 1980 under the dictatorial regime of Chun Doo-hwan, who became president as a result of the coup. These incidents are known not only to the seniors who were young at the time, but also to the younger generation, because they have been repeatedly featured in Korean films released since the 2000s, and especially since the 2010s. In the past quarter century, several films dealing with these incidents have been released, not only in art house films like Peppermint Candy, but also in hit films that have attracted millions to over 10 million audiences. In particular, A Taxi Driver, which was released in 2017 and attracted over 12 million people, and 12.12, The Day, which was released in 2023 and attracted over 10 million people, are probably still fresh in people's memories. More than 1 in 5 Koreans saw the history of the establishment of a military dictatorship under emergency martial law in recent hit drama films. For the seniors, they were re-experience of old memories, and for the younger generation, they were virtual experiences of a major incident in the country's modern history. In my opinion, 1987, When the Day Comes, which was released in 2017 and attracted an audience of 7.2 million, also reminded the younger generation of the restrictions of the military dictatorship and the value of citizen resistance. Just as depicted in the film, university students and clergy are standing together with ordinary citizens in refusing the government's authoritarian control of speech, as can be seen from online reports now. Finally, let me point out that in addition to re-experiencing these films, Korean citizens also have recent memories of politics being moved by their own will in the real world. In the fall of 2016, when the political scandal surrounding then-President Park Geun-hye, known as the Choi Soon-sil Gate, was revealed, Korean citizens demonstrated in the tens of thousands. At that time, the president was impeached, and Park Geun-hye ultimately resigned without completing her term. The form of the nighttime citizen demonstration with candles in hand that took place at that time has been passed down to demonstrations criticizing the Yoon administration. President Yoon's failed coup d'état also revealed the political consciousness of modern Korean citizens and the role of popular culture in it. The democratic spirit that runs through recent Korean films interacts closely with the consciousness of the general public, who are the audience, through reflection on the country's modern history. And the form of the citizen demonstration, which has a festive, event-like nature that also includes folk songs and traditional music, is proof that the motif of the people's struggle against power, which is often repeated in modern Korean films, has its origins in the actual people. It shows the power of the people, unrelated to ideology.